Thinking about estate planning and supporting your loved ones after you're gone can be a tough task, but there are several options for making sure your estate is protected and your wishes are followed. Joining us to discuss this more is Paul Lindsey of MacMillan Estate Planning. Thanks for being here, Paul.
Absolute pleasure. Nice to be here.
Now, most people know that they should have a will, but maybe you can add on to why it's so important. And some people might think that maybe they're too young or not in the position to even have a will, but that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly having a will is not dictated by age. I mean, the reality is that everyone has circumstances that would render having a will essential. If you have children, certainly then as you start to build an estate. Your will in itself is very much a cornerstone of your estate planning, but it's not the be-all and end-all. There is a little bit more to it. Now, of course, when we are drafting your will, we're putting your will together, and as people typically understand, it's about deciding who's going to manage my estate when I'm not here, and equally then, how are we dividing up that estate? In addition, though, we also have what is known your living will, which encompasses your enduring power of attorney and your representation agreement. And these documents simply allow individuals that you appoint who can make decisions on your behalf. And this has nothing to do with you dying. This is more about if you lose mental capacity. So your enduring power of attorney lets people make decisions around your assets, your property, finances, that sort of thing. Whilst your representation agreement's a little bit different in that it's talking really about personal and well-being decisions, which are pretty wide. I mean, at one end of the spectrum, it might be, okay, what colour slippers is this person going to wear today, right the way through to what medical treatment might they wish to receive or indeed not receive.
And again, it's key. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm in my 20s or I'm a teenager, even as young. They might not need that, but you might need to have that power of attorney in place because it can be very difficult to get any kinds of answers from governments and even hospital authorities if you don't.
Exactly. And as I mentioned there, age is certainly not something that should be a barrier to doing this. I mean, the reality is that you don't have to be looking at retirement to be thinking, okay, now is the time to have a will. For example, historically, I've worked with a lot of people that would have been, I suppose, the subject matter of what you were just talking about with the sports piece. I mean, you take a young athlete, typically they might say, well, I'm in my early 20s. Why on earth do I need a will or a power of attorney or something like that? And then you stop and think, these guys do pretty well. They have a pretty decent salary. What if something suddenly happened to them? What if there was an accident that all of a sudden rendered them unable to make decisions? So having that power of attorney in place is imperative, really, irrespective of age, just because it provides that peace of mind, not only for the individual, but for their family as well. Mm-hmm. And of course, if they don't have this sort of protection in place, well, what's going to happen then is a fairly sort of onerous and time-consuming application to court for someone to be able to assume that sort of control.
We're just running out of time here, but in the remaining sort of 40 seconds, can you tell us quickly, what are trusts?
So a trust, in essence, is something that allows you to put a fence or a ring of steel around assets. We can use trusts in wills or in your lifetime. Essentially, they are tools that protect your estate for you whilst you're alive, and perhaps for the children when you pass away. One of the most beneficial components of a trust, certainly when we pass away, is that if we have assets in there, we know they're protected for the next generation, and we can avoid what are often pretty punitive probate fees as well.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today. That is Paul Lindsey with MacMillan Estate Planning. You can go to their website if you have any more questions or want some more information. Thanks, Paul.
Pleasure. Nice to see you. Thank you.